Station The Rocks, Capital FM 92.9. Once again, a very good morning to you. Thanks for choosing to be here. Time to walk the talk. And this morning, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at efforts of the current government in the mining sector. The current government, on assumption of office last year, immediately hit the ground running to unlock the inherent economic potentials of the mining sector and also to tackle formidable obstacles bedeviling it. The federal government, through its Ministry of Solid Minerals and Development, reeled out strategic roadmaps to reform, restore investors' confidence, and renew global interest in the sector. As the current administration is counting down to its 1 year in office, what are your thoughts about the policies and programs of the mining sector? As earlier, I told you can call the numbers 0705 3538 929 and 0916 31 50,000. I've been told to slow it down by my producers. 0916 31 50,000 and 0705 353 8929. We have the pleasure of having as guest in the studio this morning, MacDonald, AKMC Program and Communications Manager, Center for Transparency Advocacy. A very good morning to you.
Morning, Nigerians. Morning.
And of course, Ambassador Regina Ezua, National Vice President, Women in Mining in Nigeria. Very good morning to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good to have you. Okay, let's get straight into the conversation for the morning. Let me start with you, Ambassador. What would you say is your general assessment of government efforts in the mining sector in the last 1 year?
Thank you. Personally, I feel that the administration of Dele Alake as the Minister of Solid Minerals Development has been one of an impressive outlay. He has identified the 7-point agenda, and to his credit, he has been following up on each of the items there. He's taking up the issue of artisanal miners, which was regarded as illegal. But the fact of the matter is that you can't really call someone mining stones in their own land illegal. I'm happy that he introduced the concept of cooperatives to gather them together and make them more organized. Apart from that, he's done quite a bit. And the innovation, which we must give him credit as women in mining, is the issue of gender mainstreaming in the mining industry. He has taken it as a strategy for the ministry to ensure that women are given equal opportunities in the mining industry, in the management, and also at the top level. This is something that Women in Mining has been advocating since 2009 when we were established. So we are happy that the minister has seen the need for it, because women have been strategically identified as being the rock of any economy. The women have a great input socially, economically, and otherwise. And I'm glad that he has seen this and made it an agenda for government and also the stakeholders in the industry, both in the private sector. Apart from that, we'd like to also commend the efforts he's making towards beneficiation. He's now laying more emphasis on beneficiation. The former minister started it, but he's taking it to a new level, especially in the gemstones value chain. He's promoting jewelry making, and just last week, there was an exhibition, the first National Gemstone Exhibition, something which Women in Mining has been advocating, the need to promote the presence of Nigerian gemstones in the international market. Our gemstones go out and they are not recognized. They are given identities as other countries' products. But I'm glad that the minister has identified the need to promote jewelry making and gemstone value chain. And hopefully, this will now attract the much needed foreign exchange and attention to our own industry, gemstone industry.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. MacDonald,
Yes.
can I say, I see that you were nodding. Is that to say that are in support of what she has said? And then, if yes, is there an addition, or what exactly hasn't he done that you think that he should do in the ministry?
Well, first, I will still have to say some of the good things he has done in the last few months that he's been the minister, as Dele Alake. For instance, he's interested in the licensing process in the ministry. And recently, there was a revocation of 924 dormant licenses. People get licenses, but they don't use it. So he made sure that there has to be a new process, making it easier for people to have license, and now using it for what it should be used for. And also, he is now interacting with about 32 state governors on, where mining activities are taking place, having a kind of a committee to galvanize the mining. Also, taking on with from what Madam said about the precious stones. We have so much of it. Nigeria shouldn't have any reason to be poor, even if what we are mining is even only rocks. So now he has come and he's putting all these things, policies, and his just as she said, his points agenda, so that the industry wouldn't just be looked at as any other ministry, but something that also creates value and creates job opportunities and creates accrues reasonable revenue for the country.
Okay, so it's all good, or is that as it seems at the moment?
Yes, but where most times we have issues is when it comes to communities. The communities that mine, or where mining activities are taking place. So, especially in the community development agreements. So when it comes to community development agreements, most times communities are not carried along. Anything is signed. People go there, mine, and walk away, and give them PTRs. And the labor that is used, especially women, they are not paid commensurate to the production or to the labor they are putting in. So when you look at that, I think there should be some kind of leverage so that community development agreements should be in the forefront. Then again, in taxation too, government has not been very fair to artisans, to artisan miners. You give one foreigner tax exemption to come and mine, make profits, large scale. Then somebody who's trying to eke out a living, you want to tax the person out of business. So as you are giving leverage to major miners, even in terms of importation,
some form of waivers should
some form of waivers. Because I'm using shovel and diggers and pickers, to do my own manual mining.
Does not mean that I'm not mining.
Yeah, does not mean I'm not mining. And you don't give me incentives, but because the other man is using a payloader, you give me incentives to import payloaders. Why don't you also give me incentives to import my shovels that I use?
Ambassador Regina, at the African Natural Resources and Energy Investment Summit, President Tinubu hinted that his administration would tackle the challenges bedeviling the mineral sector. Would you say that the government is walking the talk? For example, one of the strategic roadmaps to reforming the mining sector is to carry out surveillance task force to secure mining environment. Would you say this has been achieved, going by the fact that we still have a lot of our mineral resources being stolen?
I think we have to give credit to whom credit is due. Introduced the task force a couple of months ago in collaboration with Nigerian Civil Defense Corps and the Security and Civil Defense Corps. And at the moment, they are stationed in 6 states across the 6 geopolitical zones. One thing we need to realize is the vastness of Nigeria. Even our security agencies, the police and the army are not able to cover the grounds of the country because of its vastness. But these that have started, this security network that has commenced, they have started making inroads. And incidentally, in a program on 14th of May, where the Mining Investment Facilitation Program and the Nigeria Mineral Resource Decision Support System, DSS, was launched, the minister said that he has issues because people that you think should be protecting the community are the ones attacking him, asking him to pull back those security personnel. But he said that he was not going to do that because the essence of having them is to protect the nation and ensure that the wealth of the nation comes to the country and does not get pilfered out by some nefarious persons. So I'd like to give him credit for that. And, at the end of the day, you don't look down on small beginnings. He's starting with 6 states across the 6 geopolitical zones. But hopefully it will increase. And when people start seeing the impact, start feeling the impact, I'm sure there'll be more support from both the communities and the state governors themselves. Thank you.
The sector before this administration, picking up from where she stopped, contributed just about 0.5% to national GDP. But the government has promised now to raise the bar to at least 3% in 2025. By hindsight, is this a tall dream? Do you think the government is working towards this? Is it possible?
Yes, in fact, more than possible, because I don't think this is a tall dream. If you remember, I mentioned that even the president himself said so, even the minister said so. Nigeria does not have any reason to be poor when it comes to our natural resources. For instance, there's barely no state in Nigeria that doesn't have one
mineral
resources. We are blessed with it. So if he says 3%, look at it again from some of the wastes, from some of the policy imbalances, then the security challenges. We are in this country where we know that gold is mined from different places by foreigners who, by hook or crook, enter our territories, mine, and are making so much money out there. If those revenues are channeled towards government posts, why not? 3% is not a tall dream. So it's for us to put adequate machineries in place, adequate mechanisms in place, making sure that even those who go to the field to mine, legal mining, who go to the field to mine, are taxed appropriately. Then the revenues are also brought to the government, and those revenues are used for the benefit of Nigerians. Therefore, when Madam talked about communities challenging the security operatives, of course, there are crisis entrepreneurs here and there in the communities, those who are benefiting because it's going straight into their pockets instead of benefiting the communities and the nation. Of course, they will certainly kick against it. But the government should actually show the political will to make sure that they fulfill that promise they've made Nigerians, that by 2025, the mining sector will contribute at least 3% of the GDP.
Unfortunately, the borders are still porous. We still have security issues. The Joint Task Force, you think that's enough, judging from our problem of internal security?
I think it's also a matter of coordination and a matter of being serious about and being committed to what we want to do. I don't think Nigerian borders are bigger than the borders you have in a place like the U.S. If you check the Mexican border with the U.S., but they're able to police their borders. So if we're able to police our borders, there is no big deal about it, which I think we should. I from the other conversation, I also I knew that DSS boasted of having some softwares and technologies to fight or to combat illegal mining and all that. So if after many years they could go to Sambisa, smoke out some criminals and rescue Nigerians from there, so why wouldn't they also use the same technology? I'll give you an instance. If you know the Lower Usman Dam. If you go there to fly a drone, you will be lucky if your drone will not crash or if you will not go into the water. I've had personal experience when we are looking at quarries and all that. So I was doing a documentary. So you ask yourself, the civil defense guys that were there were like, Oga, people have lost their drones, but if you insist, you can fly it.
It's a struggle.
Why?
It's a struggle.
Why? Because there is a facility in a nearby DSS premises there. So they have it. So they should deploy it and use it.
They do actually. Yes. I had a similar experience around the city gate where we're flying drones, with permission, from the social secretariat, yes. And then from nowhere we saw police vans just showed up and wanting to make arrests until calls were made. So yes, I totally agree that we have some of these technologies. Yes. Now, Ambassador, government intends to form a new Nigeria Solid Mineral Corporation as part of efforts to reposition the sector with 1 billion share capital, and the legislation for agency has begun. Do you think it is necessary at a time where government is talking about trimming down on the number of MDAs that we have?
The Nigerian Solid Minerals Corporation is a good idea if it is well implemented. Because we have a lot of good ideas, but the execution stage is where we sometimes miss it. If we can get those who are experienced in the sector, not necessarily professors and doctors, but the miners themselves, people who have been in this sector for years. The president of Miners Association of Nigeria has been in this industry for the past 30 years. The president of Women in Mining in Nigeria has been in this industry for the past 40 years. Once we can bring round hole and round pegs and feed them into round holes and square pegs into square holes, this dream will be worthwhile. It will really turn things around because the management, a good management, is what makes a corporation grow and expand. Good management, good policies. The policy is good, but we need to ensure that the management is equally as good. Thank you.
Okay. The ministry is a beehive of investment activities. How much of foreign investment has the ministry attracted in the last 1 year? As we celebrate all of the good. Maybe I should start with you, Ambassador. Let me stay with you.
Thank you very much. The fact of the matter is that it's only the Mining Cadastre Office that can really give you that
correct information.
Because they're the ones who have the information about who's registering, who's interested, who's coming in, who's paying. And also, to be honest with you, I know that there have been interests, a lot of interest, because though we've been making a lot of news about it, a lot of advertisement, a lot of attention is being drawn to this sector. Well, the idea really is to enlarge the scope of mining sites, take it from the small mining sites we had before to large industrial sites that will generate real income. And to generate this real income, you need real capital. Mining is a very, very capital-intensive industry. At the moment, we don't have any mining sites that has the kind of equipment that's being used in Australia, in Canada, and other mining countries. So we need to...
Even Ghana?
Yes.
Ghana has been into mining for the past 100 years. We're light years ahead of us. They're light years ahead of us. So we need to put strategies in place to ensure that... because one of the things that put them off is lack of infrastructure. There is no mining site that you can see from the main road. They are all in places where there's no light, no water, no roads. And no foreigner will want to go to an unknown terrain that is hazardous. Nobody wants to risk their lives because they want money. So these are areas that we need to also focus on, the issue of infrastructure leading to mining sites. I was in South Africa some years ago, and along the road, you could see the road leading to the mining sites. And they even had signboards. The roads were leading to and you could even see the equipment from the roadside. And I'm talking about, I'm on the highway and they are off the road. So from that distance, I could see them. We don't have any such thing. I've been to mining sites in Bauchi, in Ebonyi, in Ekiti, in Taraba, in several places in the country, Ekiti, Kogi. There's no mining site that has a tarred road leading to it. These are things we need to put in place. These are the things that will actually attract the investors that we are looking for. Their security has to be also put in place. Nobody wants to go to where they'll not come back in the pursuit of wealth. So we need to address those issues as well. Provision of basic infrastructure for the mining companies and the mining communities.
Okay, so it means we're already going forward on proper solutions.
I talked about, you asked if we are actually making the money from it. And Madam is also talking of incentivizing the mining sector. If there is kind of accelerated capital allowance, for mining activities, then that will help. Then we should also not look down on the artisanal miners, because the little they generate, if we put them together, that also goes
a long way.
A long way to building up our national revenue. So by the time we look at the mining, the kind of taxes, then having incentives even on remittances and all that, then perhaps again, opening up the finances for people to be able, especially local miners or Nigerian miners, to be able to take large loans and give them more years, leeway for them to be able to pay back, then that would be good enough for the mining sector.
Very well. Okay, go ahead.
In addition to what he said,
yes, please.
I think we need to move out of giving them loans, because the artisanal miners can't afford to be.
No, not really artisanal miners. I mean,
we need to provide grants.
Grants instead.
Grants, maybe instrumentally or whatever, but grants are better, because to be honest with you, most of the artisanal miners are actually women. And how many women do you see able to obtain a loan from the bank? The banks would rather give a man a loan than to give a woman a loan. So these are the areas we need to change our mindsets. Thinking of how to empower these women, artisanal women miners, through grants. Bank of Industry has quite a bit of money. At the last meeting we had the Senate hearing, they said the money had grown from 3 points. I'm not too sure about the figure, but I know that 3.5 was mentioned and it became 4 point something. So it is something that we need to change our mindset, readdress. How do we use these funds in a way that is sustainable and meaningful to the people that it's meant for?
It's not surprised that you're advocating for women. After all, you're the National Vice President, Women in Mining in Nigeria. Ambassador Regina Edzua, thank you very much for making it to our studio this morning.
Thank you very much
the much
for the
time
opportunity
can take.
to talk to you and
thank you.
The country.
McDonald Ekimizie, my man.
Thank you.
Program and Communications Manager, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Thanks a lot for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Very well, that's the much time will permit. On today's edition of Walk the Talk is produced by Rhoda Adjunye and John Paul, supervised by Ojochide Enenchet. My name is Abdul Fattah Otori. Thanks for doing this with us this morning.